Welcome to Tip Tuesday. Today we are going to take a look at how the calc triggers in reports work. So this is going to be a little bit more of an advanced tip, and we're just going to start by having a look at this kind of goofy looking report. So if I preview it, you'll notice I get 2 gauges per page, and this is actually on purpose in this case, just to illustrate some concepts. And what I've done, if we come over to the Calc tab, is we've got the detail band, and I've got some variables defined that'll control whether or not these messages play. We've got some labels, and we've got this DB text. So the goal here is we want to be able to look at how the different pieces of these objects calc events fire. So going back to the module view, I've declared a few constants, and let's just start with looking at the different triggers that can apply to the detail events. So here we're talking about after generate, which just lists the name and the ID, generate last detail, after print, before generate, before print. One thing you'll notice in a lot of reports is that detail before print is sort of the default go-to place that we logic. Sometimes that's good, sometimes not. And if we hit preview, you'll start to see why. So we've got detail before print fired first for the first pipette, then before generate, after generate, then there's an on create draw command, and after print. Then we have the same sequence happen for pipette 2. Do, after print. Now we have detail before print on pipette 3. After generate last detail on pipette 3. So what happens here is we started the process of generating pipette 3, found out we don't have enough space on the current page, so we have now completed the last detail for pipette 3. And then we re-execute detail before print and go through detail before generate, after generate, on through. So now we've got detail before print page for 4. And now let's pay more attention as we get into pipette 5. So we have detail before print one time. And then we skip the before generate, rerun before print, and now finally on page 3 we run the detail before generate. So this gives you some understanding of what happens. And this is also why detail before print really does not work well for doing conditional counts of information. Instead, your detail before generate works much better because it only fires once per detail. It's also worth noting that it's only in before print and before generate that you can change labels prior to them setting up whatever they look like. If you have memo objects where the detail size may dynamically shift height, you want to set the memos in before print so they have the proper text to determine if it's going to fit, but you may have other things that you want in before generate. So that's one example. Now let's look at our DB text. So here we've got DB text 1. We have an on draw command click, command create, on get text. This allows you to actually do some overloading of the display text. So you'll get in your display text and then you can reformat it. And we've got the on print. So again, going through here, you'll see we have the on get text, then the on print, and we have the on get text happens again, and then we have our on command create, And so get text on print, get text again. So you see this on get text fires several times. And we could probably have a better understanding of exactly what's happening if we also had the detail print elements going on here. What I think is interesting about this is you'll notice that the on command click is never firing. That happens when I click here. Now you'll notice it doesn't correctly tell you what it was, what the text was based on the pipeline, but you could actually pop up the display text and you can trigger various other logic, such as being able to conditionally hide or display sub-reports, things like that. If we look at our labels, here we've got these exact same label elements, and what you'll see here is they work pretty much the same way. On print, on get text, on draw, on print, on get text, on draw. And if I click on this, then we get our command click. One other thing that I think is very interesting is the order that things draw on. So if I go back to this event view, you notice I have the on print for all of my labels here. And you'll notice here in the listing, we have label 1, then label 2, label 3. So you'll see here we have label 1, label 2, label 3. Label 1, label 2, label 3. Label 1, label 2, label 3. And that seems to work fairly well. The key thing is I have seen some reports where people do a lot of their work in the label on prints, DB text on prints, and everything seems to be working really well. But let's say I have this company and I accidentally drag it and move it down here. And oops, I didn't mean to do that. I move it back. You'll notice now that my order is label 2, label 3, label 1. And if I preview, label 2, label 3, label 1. What happens in a lot of reports that I've seen is people assume a particular sequence of orders for different items. And so I'll set label 1's caption. Then in the label 2 on print, I may reference label 1's caption. And if something happens to that logic so that label 1 is displaying later than label 2's logic, but label 2 depends on label 1's logic, things can break. So, in this case, the only way I can fix this is to drag each of these out of the band and back into the band so I restore my order. And now I'm back to label 1, label 2, label 3. And just as a reminder, it's the module view that gave me my declaration so I could define these constants to control things for debugging purposes. So this is just a short introduction into this. If you look at the various objects, you'll find things like the report has many, many, many logic triggers. And most of these are going to make sense as far as when they're going to fire. The headers, the individual labels, the footers, most of these have very obvious triggers. But this is a simple way that you can do a little bit of debugging, figure out what's going on, and just a short warning that detail before print, that's sometimes not the best place to do your logic.